Hi, brothers and sisters. I am so happy that you have joined us today, and I say us because I'm happy to be joined with my wife here, my spouse of 20 years in December, and I am so happy to welcome you to a new marital series that we're starting today. Love on a Two-Way Street. Love on a Two-Way Street. It will feature other couples that have been married a long time, and so we're kicking it off here, and we thank God for the marriage ministry of the Greater Solid Rock Baptist Church, where I serve as pastor. But I am so happy to kick off this series. Just want to tell you some background information about me and my lovely wife. We have been married, like I said previously, for 20 years in December. We have 3 lovely daughters, ages 17, 16, and 14. And I am so happy to have this kind of life that we live as a married couple. But I just want to share with you, we would like to share with you just some common questions that come before us that we think that we can minister to somebody else who may need ministry, that are married, or even they may be single. And so we're so happy to come into your homes and to minister to your marital needs today. And I'm going to ask my lovely wife to begin our questions. And we're going to, when we ask these questions, we're going to answer them from a husband perspective. And then we're going to also answer them, we'll let Felicia answer them from a wife perspective. And so that's how we're going to answer these questions. So I'm going to ask my wife to go ahead and with our questions, and we can go from there.
Okay, the first question is, why do you think your marriage was successful? And so I'll be the first one to answer this question. I believe that our marriage has been successful because of one principle. I think that I had a lot of respect for my husband. I would say a mutual respect and trust. After dating for a period of time, I just really grew to trust that he would always call like he said he would, and he would always be there when he said he would. And so that just really made us become very, very strong as a couple. And we just had a trust that could not be replaced by anything else, and it propelled the marriage. So I had a mutual respect for him. I really respected his opinion, and I had a trust for him. And those two things really contributed to the success of our marriage, in my opinion. Okay, what about you?
Oh, okay. My perspective is, I think our marriage was successful because, from my perspective, I had a desire to have a successful marriage. I was willing to compromise wherever I needed to compromise to make sure that our marriage was successful, to make sure that our home was a happy home for my wife. I made sure that I always listen, and that's very important in marriage. You have to listen to your spouse. Don't ignore your spouse. Listen to everything that they have to say, their opinion. And once you are listening and you show your spouse that you value their opinion, I think that's what make your marriage successful. So my perspective is what made our marriage successful was that we listened to one another. And what the spouse, what my wife says and what I say to one another, that's priority over what everybody in the world says. What opinion matters to us is nobody else's opinion other than our spouse first. And if you do that and you're determined to have a successful marriage, and marriage is what you put into it. If you have a goal as one of your life goals to have a successful marriage, I think that's how you get a successful marriage. You just have to have a goal to have a successful marriage, and to listen to your spouse. Okay. Okay, the next question, frequently asked questions is, what what are you doing in particular to make the relationship successful? Or what did you do in particular to make the relationship successful? I'm sorry. Let me read that question again. What did you do in particular to make the relationship successful? I guess I can answer that question first. I think what I did in particular to make our relationship successful was I had to prioritize our relationship. Let me say it again. You have to prioritize your marriage. You got to make it a priority. If you don't prioritize your marriage, and you put it secondary, a third, a fourth, a fifth, you're gonna have some issues in your marriage. Your marriage got to be a priority, because that's how important that it should be in your life. That's the number one thing in your life. God, your marriage, and even in Corinthians the 7th chapter, and then I'm going to turn it back over to my wife. Corinthians the 7th chapter, around the 32nd verse, it talks about he that is married careth for the things of the world and how he may please his wife. So the Bible even tells us that marriage must be a priority. God says that marriage must be a priority. So that's why I believe what I did in particular was that I had to put a priority, make sure that marriage was a priority in my life.
Okay, so I'm going to read this again. What did I do in particular to make this relationship successful? Well, I don't have a Bible quote because I don't have it memorized, so I apologize. But if I had to pinpoint the one thing that I did in particular, I would say I gave myself permission to be selfish. And that sounds strange, but I think in order for our relationship, our marriage to make it, I had to give myself permission to make myself in this relationship the most important thing. And that's hard for a lot of people. It's hard to prioritize a marriage before anything else, before your siblings, before anything else. But when you do that, when you make it the most important thing, then it's successful. You're not going to get a divorce, and it is not going to be, a rancorous marriage. It will be a pleasant one because you all are on the same page. You have the same goal, and you have held the marriage up in equal importance. And so that was something that I did personally that made the marriage really work. I was selfish. I put the marriage before anything else outside of the marriage. So, okay. Now, we're going to get to the third question. What advice would I give to a single person who is thinking about marriage? And this is something that I have thought about a lot, because I think the institution of marriage is very, very important. And I don't think enough people place enough importance on marriage. I hear a lot of people, a lot of women saying, I can do it on my own. I am an independent woman and I don't need anybody else. And all of that is true. It absolutely is. And I said all of those things too, but there's a big but in all of this. Marriage makes life more successful. It makes everything in my life a lot happier. And it is a simple thing, but it's just so true. And so if I had to give any advice to any of my single sisters, I would say marriage is the most important decision you can make in your life. And so choose a spouse wisely, because they will be all of the things that you need in life. They're going to be a breadwinner, they're going to be a best friend, they're going to be a confidant, and they're going to be a partner. And that is everything that my husband is. And so I've got all of those things in one person. And I got someone to share all the bills with too. So that makes it great too. So my advice is place importance on the decision to get married and go ahead and do it. Okay.
Okay. And I am coming from the husband perspective, and I want to just speak to the young men, since Felicia spoke to the young ladies. Because sometimes it's not the young ladies that runs away from marriage. Sometimes, usually, from my observation, it's the young men. And so I want to just encourage the young men that are single. Marriage is a very powerful thing in your life. You become a better man if you have a woman. So a lot of possibilities and potentials you may not ever realize as a single man. But it takes a wife, a helpmeet. That's why God called woman a helpmeet, to help the man to become who he really is. So if you don't have that helpmeet, you may not reach your full potential. In fact, statistics have proven, and you can double check me on this, that men live longer when they're married. Let me say it again. Statistics have proven that men live longer when they're married. So a lot of times, our health is better, our career is better, our goals are obtained. So you're missing out on a lot, and then you have a peace of mind. So what I would say to a single man or a single person, I think the worst thing you can do is run away from marriage. I understand not forcing yourself to get married, but running away from marriage, I think that's a very, very bad decision. The Bible says marriage is a good thing. It's an honorable thing. It's honorable and it's good. And you find a good thing. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. So marriage is good and obtain favor in the sight of God. So all of these indications biblically indicates that man becomes a better man when he's married. So my strong advice is, don't move in, get married. Get married. That's the best way that's the best route to go. And you'll have peace. And somebody said, hey, do it right. Don't do it the wrong way. Do it the right way. And so my advice is that once you find the person that you love, then go ahead and make that important move. Don't run away from it. It's a good thing.
Okay. Now this is the last question. What was the most challenging aspect of marriage? That's a good question. The most challenging aspect in marriage has been to block out the noise. Block out the noise. And it's really, really important. When you're looking at your spouse, it just seems like, going back to one of my earlier answers, it's selfish to block out everybody's opinions, everybody's advice, but that's the precise thing that I had to overcome, that it was okay to do that. It was okay to not go to maybe my siblings or my family members who I all love and respected, but to go to my husband. And when I started thinking of him as not only my partner, my husband, but as they say, my ride or die, it helped me to understand that, I go to him first and we talk about it, and I don't include anybody else. And that's a challenge for people, to just cut out all of the noise and just look within the relationship to work it out, as opposed to going to everybody else. But that was really important. And that was when the relationship became even more sacred, because we just went to each other with advice. We didn't go to anybody else. And it made for a stronger relationship. So just consider your spouse your ride or die.
Yeah. Okay. So my answer from the husband perspective, what was the most challenging aspect of marriage? I think probably from my perspective was just kind of along the same lines that Felicia said, just kind of excluding other people's opinions, and just kind of focusing on what your spouse's opinion is. Because at the end of the day, that's who you have to listen to. And this is from the husband perspective, because I know it's a lot of men take the wrong position with this, in regards to being the head of the house. Just because you're the head of the house don't mean you don't listen to your wife. You listen to your wife, but the challenging part with me, and with a lot of, well, probably not just men, women as well, is that there will be several people in your life, friends, co-workers, that you will listen to for advice. But at the end of the day, when you go home and you speak to your spouse, that's what you have to consider. That's what you have to weigh. And when you weigh that, sometimes that transition is very challenging. And so that's what was challenging for me, is to just separate from the rest of the world and be on an island with just you and your spouse. Because that's what marriage is. It's an island, and it's just you and your spouse. And it's you and your spouse, and then it's the rest of the world. And that's how you have to view. And that perception, that mentality is very hard to transition into when you're a single individual. So, and it's very challenging if you're a person that have always done things by yourself, that you just kind of made decisions by yourself. You just went ahead and went on and did things, didn't have to ask anybody. So that's even challenging for people like that. I wasn't quite that far with that particular mentality, but I know some people that are single that have that same mentality. Just used to just kind of making decisions all by themselves without conferring or talking to anybody. So that's a challenge as well for people who's kind of loners. So that's just one of the things you got to get used to, conferring with someone, listening to somebody, taking somebody else's opinion in consideration. So that's what my response is to that question. But those are our questions today, and we hope that you have enjoyed this love on a two-way street. We really, really hope you enjoyed it. And this is a part of our marriage ministry at the Greater Solid Rock Baptist Church. And if you want to continue to support this ministry, because we're trying to minister to all the needs in the community. If you want to continue to support this ministry, please consider sowing a seed at the Greater Solid Rock Baptist Church. And you can sow a seed by going on PayPal. And once you go on PayPal, it will give you instructions as to how to send an offering to us. I tell you this all the time. It's on the following screens. In fact, just so you can be clear, go under the recipient's address, and it's GSRBC treasurer@yahoo.com. And just send it by PayPal, or you can send it to the Greater Solid Rock Baptist Church at 6280 Camp Road in Riverdale, Georgia. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and don't forget, we look forward to seeing you. We'll be back next Tuesday with another series on love on the two-way street. Thank you, and may God bless you.